Hello there, kia ora, and welcome to this week's news. David Seymour, seen here being the kind of person who keeps getting out new glasses every time they want a drink, not drinking them, letting them pile up, and then refusing to put them in the dishwasher, sat smugly in Parliament as his Treaty Principles Bill was read for the first time, sparking fierce debate from the opposition, which saw Willie Jackson evicted and Hana Rafferty Maipi Clark named, after an enormous rendition of the Haka Kamate, which led to Speaker Jerry Brownlee ordering the gallery to be emptied. Coalition partners speaking to the bill did so in tones of quiet resignation, while also completely missing the point and trying to justify other changes that they've made, which have stripped Māori voices in decision-making processes and undone work which was designed to help create equitable outcomes for Māori. They seemed somewhat confused that people are concerned that they're going to change their mind and end up voting for the bill, and couldn't work out why anyone might think that. The event itself has led to a global viral moment for Te Pāti Māori MP Maipi Clark after her symbolic tearing up of Seymour's bill and subsequent haka. News outlets from all over the world have used it, and social media sites have seen it go viral, with the vast majority of them pointing out that this was in response to a bill seen to diminish Indigenous rights. From APEC in Chile, Christopher Luxon, seen here realising a 22-year-old Wahine Māori has knocked him off his perch as the king of social media, said, "What I'm saying to you is, I hoped no one here would remind me that I allowed this to happen, but I did used to run an airline. However, the events of the day are unlikely to alter the Prime Minister's plans because the New Zealand Herald has already reported that it was a hatred-filled event, and of course that's the fault of the people who would suffer at the outcome of Seymour's bill and not the people who instigated it, who are clearly the real victims here." It was revealed on Saturday that Transport Minister Simeon Brown, seen here learning that cyclists and public transport users are also taxpayers, was made aware in Cabinet that changes to increase speed limits would lead to more deaths on the roads, and that his claims that speed increases would improve productivity were not backed up with any evidence. And he didn't attempt to provide any during the decision-making process. When asked for comment, Simeon just stood there perfectly still, hoping that the press were like Tyrannosaurus Rexes and wouldn't be able to see him if he didn't move. The government this week announced new measures to stem issues with MSD numbers. To stop the increase in unemployment numbers, they've created the perfect conditions for a brain drain, which Stats NZ this week confirmed is going incredibly well, with latest immigration numbers continuing a trend of net migration loss from New Zealand as more of us pack up and leave the country, limiting the number of people here to collect benefits. On top of that, Louise Upston, seen here realising she's had way too much coffee, and the bathroom is ages away and the line is really long, has now cancelled weekly reporting on benefit numbers from MSD. Because as we all know, if you can't see a problem, it doesn't exist. ACT MP Todd Stevenson, seen here realising he missed his chance to play a hobbit in The Lord of the Rings despite his height being book accurate for the role, has called for central government funding allocations to political parties for broadcast advertising during an election campaign to be stopped, so taxpayers don't foot a bill for a party that they don't support. While the ACT Party raised over $4 million in election donations for last year's campaign, which was half of the total that the left bloc of parties in Parliament raised, Stevenson was told by mega donors like Graham Hart, David Richwhite and Sir Russell Coote, who all donated to ACT's campaign to give the 8% party disproportionate power in the coalition government, that an even playing field was unfair for voters. Te Whatu Ora Health NZ Commissioner Lester Levy, seen here giving his best Bob De Niro impersonation, this week stepped in to personally save our health sector from a lack of Milo. Under changes brought in to cut costs because of severe underfunding and not overspend as the government would like to spin it, Milo had been limited to only being allowed to be purchased for clinical reasons or under contractual arrangements. Levy personally stepped in over the decision, showing that he will get directly involved in sector decisions when it's really important. After all, this is Milo, a national institution, and far more important than things like nurses and doctors and medications and primary health service providers and midwives and care facilities and their staff and ambulance drivers and ambulances and hospital builds and blood donation collections. NZME this week announced plans to shut down 14 local news publications from all over the country. These include the Hauraki Coromandel Post, Napier Courier, the Bush Telegraph, and the 100-year-old Te Awamutu Courier, which I used to be a paperboy for. The closure has been blamed on unprofitable market forces, causing a decline in advertising and not on their apparent inability to recognise white text on a white background as impossible to read. Oddly, NZME, which owns the right-wing publications The Herald and News Talk ZB, couldn't see a link between promoting and platforming right-wing political parties and ideologies which have tanked the economy, and the issues that this causes with businesses and their inability then to spend on local advertising. And finally, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, showing his approach to seeing the issues facing the country, appeared on the podcast Lead on Purpose, which aired on Friday morning. Luxon, who is very particular about the media he does after cutting access to news outlets, refusing to do Q&A and requesting to go on between two beers, well, he joined the podcast host James Laughlin's 8-year-old son Finn, who tripped up the Prime Minister by asking him a maths question, which Luxon got wrong initially. Good to know that the future of the country's maths curriculum is in a safe pair of hands. And that is this week's news. Wait, you're still here? It's over. Go find another video.